my name is Stacey Lewis. I am a Market Research and Insights Manager here at REA, coming direct to you from my home office, as most of us are. I had the absolute pleasure of talking to you about some of the key insights from our new home buyer research as part of the Prop20 event series. We obviously, unfortunately, had to cut that series short because of the COVID situation, but it is really exciting that we're able to bring these insights to you via the Prop20 hub that our marketing team have been working around the clock to get up and running so you can get access to these insights. I hope you find the content useful and enjoy. It's exciting to be here today to talk to you about new home buyers and welcome back to those who are at my previous session. I have it on good authority that there's a few of you that have come to both, which is nice to see. My focus, as Rose kind of mentioned today, will be diving a little bit deeper into the sentiment in the market around new home buyers. I'll also be talking about quality. So these are both two things that I covered in my previous session in relation to the new apartments market. I also wanted to highlight what we're seeing in terms of the house and land buyer and the new home buyer as well. The third topic that I wanted to cover off today, which this should probably have a question mark on it, but the death of the backyard. So we've seen that block sizes are shrinking and we've seen townhouses over the past kind of 10 years grow in popularity. So we wanted to dig a little bit deeper into why they're becoming more popular. And the final topic, as Rose mentioned, is around sustainability. So we wanted to unpack that a little bit and understand more about what home buyers think about sustainability, how that relates to what we're delivering, and what we should be thinking about in the future in terms of sustainability. This presentation today, if you weren't in my previous session, is based on what was previously branded as the Developer Insight Series research. So this is a big survey that we do each year with our new apartment buyers and new home buyers. The insights that I'll be focusing on today are from over 1,000 new home buyers, and it's an independently conducted piece of research as well. It is nationally representative, so we do have representation across all of the states. I haven't highlighted any of the state-based results are only highlighted where there is a difference, and overall we usually find that the results are pretty consistent. So jumping in to look at the market sentiment, and as I mentioned, this is something that I covered in my previous session, but what we're seeing from our new home buyer audience is a lot of anxiety in the market. So these are some quotes from some of the people that participated in the survey that we conducted. So they aren't feeling educated, they're worried about the housing market conditions, they're concerned about the ups and downs in terms of what's going on in the media and how the downturn is kind of affected property prices as well. And they want to make sure that they're making the right decision at the right time and aren't really feeling confident that they can do that. This is having an impact in terms of the amount of time that they're taking to commit to a project or to their home. So since 2019, we've actually seen them take longer, 30% longer, to make a decision or make a commitment in relation to their new home. So that's huge. So we're seeing a massive impact there in terms of what the market is doing in terms of that journey length. What's interesting is we're not seeing that impact from a subsequent investor perspective. So those that are have invested in property before and are now moving on to, secondary or third or, have that experience in the market. And this uncertainty that we're seeing in the market and hearing from our buyers is reflected in the type of information that they want to obtain and the type of information they're seeking. So 49% of new home buyers want advice or tips in relation to how to purchase a property. So half of that audience are looking for that information. And 47%, half, again, are seeking market information. What's interesting about this is of this group, half of them are expecting to get that from builders and they're expecting to get that from developers. So they've told us that of those that are seeking those types of information, they're actually expecting it from you. And this represents a real opportunity for those in the room to really stand out from the competition and provide that support to them. So helping those who expect it from you, supporting them, but also those that perhaps don't yet have that expectation to help them understand what they want to. And this is a list of all of the information needs of our new home buyers. And you can see these are the ones that I've highlighted here. Tips about how to purchase a property, property data demand, sales history, marketing trends, and also all other types of information around local areas and things like that. But there's also permission, I think, to help them with these other information sources they're seeking as well. So obviously the number one thing they're going to be looking for is information around land and property prices. Interestingly, when we look at, in my previous presentation, when we look at new apartment buyers, that wasn't the top thing that people were looking for. Actually, it was about halfway down the list. So just highlighting that difference. The second topic that I wanted to talk to you about is quality. And this is something, again, that I covered in my previous session. And the reason I wanted to cover it in this session is because we've seen the coverage in the new apartments market, in the media, and we wanted to understand whether this is having a knock-on effect or an impact in terms of the new homes market. And what we found is that people are equally concerned about the level of quality. So your new home buyers are equally concerned about the level of quality in the new homes market, consistent with what they think about the quality of new apartments. And we wanted to understand more about why that is, and I think by looking at the commentary that's coming out of that, it's not necessarily influenced by that publicity we're seeing, but we are seeing that underneath it, even though it hasn't been in the media, there are a lot of concerns around quality in the market as well. What's interesting, and it is something I've highlighted, is that the quality concerns aren't just about new properties though. So what we heard from our buyers was that they're still concerned about property in general. The established market comes with its own issues that we need to be mindful of. And here's some commentary that we've heard from some of our buyers about quality.
Look, for starters, you've got to guarantee, hopefully, how the place has been built. And you've got to guarantee from the builder that for the first 6 years, if anything goes wrong, if they haven't gone out of business, of course, that they will fix it.
You would assume everything's new, so less maintenance costs. Newly built, so meaning everything's fresh. There's no old wiring that I have to worry about, or, heating might stop working, or aircon and all of that. So I like the idea of buying brand new, and also with the options of customising.
So that'd be the only thing, would be some kind of assurance that it's quality stuff and you get what you pay for.
And there's regulations and that they need to follow, where many years ago you buy the older house, you don't know what's in there. There's asbestos, faulty wiring or old wiring, the pipes are rusted. So if you're buying old, you could be buying problems. If you're buying new, that's what it is, new.
So what that highlights to us is not only is delivering a quality message and a quality product really important to our new home buyers, but it's actually a real opportunity to stand out, not just from new apartments, but the whole market really. And we see that reflected in what people want in terms of how they make a choice about a builder. So here we have 80% of people nominated quality as one of the main choice factors in choosing a builder. That was followed by 56% that nominated something to do with price, and really surprisingly to me, 36% relating to product. So you've got a really big difference between what the people that are nominating quality relative to what you're actually delivering, that product piece, the designs and things like that. So we really need to take notice of that. And I mentioned this in our previous session, so you can see a lot of similar themes coming out of this. But the way that people verify quality is through seeing it themselves and through others. So some of the main things that they're looking at is they want to be able to assess that by looking at the stuff that you've done before and going into those display homes to be able to assess that for themselves. One of the opportunities, I think, from the display home perspective is helping them understand more about the process. As I have mentioned previously, everyone thinks they can build a home. Everyone thinks it's easy. Everyone's seen the block, and it's just not the case. So we need to talk to our audience about how that's done, who are the experts that you have on. There's so many people that go into building a house. We need to highlight to them and showcase that expertise so we can build our trust. And fundamentally, it is about answering these three questions. Can I trust your work and that of your partners? Will you do what you say? And remembering, people will hold you to account. They'll talk about you. And they have the tools and the voice to go online to do that. And how do they know that you will provide a quality product? The third topic that I wanted to cover off today is this concept of the death of the backyard, and dig a little bit deeper into whether we are moving away from backyards and what that means. So we've seen this chart shows us the median block sizes by state and highlights that across most of the states we've seen that block sizes are shrinking over time. And what we've also seen is that townhouses are quite popular, and this isn't new. We see around 1 in 2 that are interested in a townhouse. It's a little bit less common in Queensland and WA, where they still do primarily prefer to have that bigger backyard option. And we see it be more common among our first-time investors as well. And that number, 45%, has remained relatively consistent over the past few years. What we have been able to look at this year is the interest of townhomes in outer areas as well. So we looked at those who were only considering looking in outer suburbs or regional areas, and 1 in 4 said they would still buy a townhouse as well. So we wanted to look at this and understand what's driving this. Why are people doing this? And fundamentally, it's this key question is it more to do with a cultural shift in the way that we use our properties, on what we want from a property, what we want from a backyard, what we want from the house itself, or is it an economic factor? Is it a cost pressure that is causing this to happen? And what we found was actually it's a little bit of both. So what you can see here is 51% nominated a key benefit of purchasing a townhouse as being that cost or value proposition, and 60% said it was lifestyle or a lifestyle-related decision. And so we've got a bucket, and they're roughly about a third each. There's one group that is purely driven by cost. There's a group that has is influenced by both, so they're considering both cost and lifestyle, and there is a group that are purely driven by lifestyle as well. And what we see from this group is they're more commonly downsizers, they're more likely to be older buyers as well, and it is more common in our state in Victoria as well. A little bit less common in New South Wales. That surprised me a little bit. I thought that potentially that group might have moved towards this trend a little bit more naturally, given the price pressures up there, but it does actually come a little bit more down to cost for them. And this is a list of all of the common factors that they nominated in terms of why that townhouse is appealing. What was interesting to me when looking at this is actually the ones that we're looking at the bottom that relate to design. So design style, 34% nominated that as something that interested them, but also having a bigger property and offering more space per square metre of land was nominated as a main reason that people are seeking townhouses as well. And this can obviously be speaking to the cost equation, but it also speaks to those who are looking for that lifestyle change where they potentially don't want to have that level of maintenance and want to utilise their property in the best way that they can. Oops. And just on top of that, what we looked at was what they're looking for in terms of a townhouse. And it's really interesting to see that fundamentally they actually want the same product. So if you look at those looking at a townhouse versus your standard house with a backyard, typically they still want their 3-bedroom, 2-bath layout. And really importantly, the outdoor area, really, really important. And so that's where, if we think back to what I was saying previously about design, we can see how it's not really so much about the backyard dying, it's more about it being customised or evolving to suit those lifestyle needs, because we can see those outdoor areas are really important in meeting the needs of those lifestyle buyers, I guess. So really what we need to be thinking about is we need to consider how we communicate to those who are interested in townhouses and think about those two mindsets. We have those that are cost driven, but we also have those lifestyle seekers that want everything that they had before, but in that townhouse format, and fundamentally still delivering on the same functions that we get out of that home. So 3 beds, 2-bath, outdoor area, really important. And I wanted to highlight as well, I went to a display home on the weekend, and beautiful homes, but I noticed that they didn't have an outdoor area set up so that you could fully experience what they would be like. It was opened out onto the street, and someone actually walked out there and kind of went, I guess I could sit out here. I guess you could put a table out here. So really important, again, when you're setting that up and showcasing that there is that space that they can visualise as well. And the final topic that I wanted to go through today related to sustainability. So as I mentioned, this isn't a new topic. Sustainability has been around for a very long time. This chart shows the search for sustainability on Google over the past 5 years in the home and garden category. We can see that this interest has gradually been growing, and there's been a huge focus on this around the federal election time as well, with everything that's happening with climate change and that media coverage. We can also see that people don't really care about sustainability during the Christmas period. I am very ashamed to say that I am completely in that bucket. I try, relatively hard, I guess, but when it comes to buying presents for other people, everything goes out the window and I'm off to Chadstone. I just found that funny. So we wanted to talk to new home buyers about what they thought about sustainability, what it means to them in relation to property, and I've got a bit of a video to highlight that.
I think for the earth to be better, we have to have that greenery. That gives us oxygen, it gives us everything.
I think it's more savvy, and not that I'm a greenie at all, but I think it's built with better materials, soundproofing. I mean, yeah, there are environmental factors to it, but it's, like in terms of water saving, or I think it's quite smart in terms of like the materials used in a property.
So sustainability is very important because the government's just not keeping up with the power stations and all the facilities that we need. So it's another way of us becoming more self-sufficient.
So what that highlighted to us about sustainability is it that concept of sustainability, or how people think about that, really relates to that running costs and self-sufficiency kind of question. So you can see here by some of the comments that came through, I guess it is more superficial. They're not thinking as holistically about sustainability as what we might have seen in the media or in the broader other industries. And that's reflected in this stat here. We've got 67% of new home buyers agree that the primary benefit of solar power is about saving money. So again, it's still primarily about getting something back. But I think we should be taking notice of that minority who will prioritise builders who are offering sustainable or innovative building methods. So 27% of your audience are prioritising builders based on this. And the reason that I say that is because of what we see going on in the market. So if we want to understand a trend in it, wholly, then we should look to what's happening in the market. What are other businesses doing? What else is coming up? And what we can see is, I've just put up some examples of some of the things that we are seeing in the market. So UpChoose is a clothing brand that caters to babies, where you can actually design and subscribe to baby clothes. You use them for 3-6 months, wherever you're up to, and then you send them back. And they recycle those clothes through other people use them. So they're eliminating that waste. The Intrepid Offsetter, that's where you can actually subscribe to offset your travel. So people are being more mindful of that. The innovation up the top is actually an app that you can put in all of the things that you do in your day and the things that you purchase, and it will actually track your impact on the world in terms of that carbon footprint. So there's a market for people to understand more about what their impact is. And that final one that we have there, Loop, is about a company that actually partners with big grocery brands, uses their own reusable packaging, delivers your groceries to you, and then they take the packaging away and reuse it. It's almost like going back to your milkman days. It's coming back. The other thing that we can see in the market is that consumers are demanding transparency. So where there has been a catalyst, we can see that there is companies responding to that. So we've seen the trend in the fashion industry when we had the issues overseas around the factories, that people are now demanding that transparency through that supply chain. We saw what happened with Cambridge Analytica in Facebook, and now they're providing more transparency. They now publish a transparency report. And of course, we've seen what's happening in relation to climate change, and we've got Greta up there as well. So what I think we should be thinking about in the next 5 to 10 years is considering sustainability more holistically. It's not mainstream yet. People aren't thinking about sustainability in terms of all of the aspects of the build process, but I think given the market conditions, we need to start thinking about it now, because that's where it looks like it's going. And what that involves is thinking about our materials and how we communicate all of this as well. And these are some comments that we had through from the survey. So we are seeing this trickling through. Building materials used in new property development are sourced from sustainable areas. They're talking about the building techniques as well that have a lower environmental impact. The use of recycled materials in infrastructure, solar panels and water reuse. We need to consider this in the way that we cater to our estates as well. How are we implementing some of these things in our estates? Because people are going to start looking for this. It is about longevity of those builds and the materials. I've talked about running needs and those running needs and costs. And they're also talking about that long-term impact as well. So to summarise my kind of 3 things that I've focused on today, quality is a main concern for new home buyers, but it's also a massive opportunity for us to tell that quality story and all elements of that quality story as well. So we have a platform to talk about that in terms of the display home, in terms of those fixtures and fittings. How can we talk more about the process as well? Townhouses, I talked about that, driven by both cost and lifestyle. The challenge to us is making sure that we're communicating to both of those groups and also highlighting that the interest in sustainability, it's not quite there yet, but I think that it's growing and we need to start thinking about that more holistically. That's it from me. Thank you very much for your attention for the past hour for some of you, and I hope to see you all later.